Hello, Long Branch High School community. This month we celebrate National African American History Month. It originated in 1915 when historian and author Dr. Carter G. Woodson founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, now the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. Through this organization, Dr. Woodson initiated the first Negro History Week in February 1926. Dr. Woodson selected this week in February that included the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, two key figures in the history of African Americans. While it is always important to recognize the contributions made to the world by various beautiful and melanated people of color, February is always a special time to take a moment and truly reflect on the contributions made to society. Within our modern world, this time of the year has an even greater meaning for many in this country. While minorities have historically been unrepresented or misrepresented in the media, they have had an enormous influence and made meaningful contributions to societal trends and traditions that are current today. It should come as no surprise to some that African rhythmic tribal beats have preceded the birth of many music genres that have defined pop culture and shaped many generations, including rock and roll, rhythm and blues, and jazz, just to name a few. Today, we celebrate them as well as new generation of human rights leaders, our youth, as we present Long Branch High School's Black History Month, past to present.
Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Morgan Priester and I will be your host. Long Branch High School students have been involved in many activities to celebrate this month. From our social studies classes creating virtual museums and blackout poetry to examining the histories of the civil rights heroes, the Hellfighters of Harlem, and African American entrepreneurs. For our first piece, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Maya Angelou uses the metaphor of a bird struggling to escape its cage as a prominent symbol throughout her series of autobiographies. The caged bird represents Angelou's confinement resulting from racism and oppression. I present to you Jordan Morgan performing Why the Caged Bird Sings.
Right now I feel like a bird, caged without a key. Everyone comes and stares at me with so much joy and revelry. They don't know how I feel inside. Through my smile I cry. They don't know what they're doing to me, keeping me from flying. That's why I say that I know why the caged bird sings. Her only joy comes from song. She's so rare and beautiful to others. Why not just set her free so she could fly? Spreading her wings in her song. Let her fly, fly, fly. A whole world to see. Hey, ooh. She's let her fly, should've let her fly, should've let her fly. Spread her wings, spread her beauty.
Tap dance originated in the United States in the early 19th century at the crossroads of African and Irish American dance forms. When slave owners took away traditional African percussion instruments, slaves turned to percussive dancing to express themselves and retain their cultural identities. I present to you members of the Green Wave Dance performing the Schuyler Sisters.
There's nothing rich folks love more than going downtown and slumming it with the poor. They pull up in their carriages and gawk at the students in the common just to watch them talk. Take Philip Schuyler, the man is loaded. Uh-oh, but little does he know that his daughters, Peggy, Angelica, Eliza, sneak into the city just to watch all the guys.
Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy, the Schuyler sisters. Angelica, Peggy, Eliza, Daddy said to be home by sundown. Daddy doesn't need to know. Daddy said not to go downtown. Like I said, you're free to go. But look around, the revolution's happening in New York. Angelica, work. It's bad enough that he wants to go to war. We're shouting in the square. It's bad enough there'll be violence on our shore. No ideas in the air. Look around, Angelica, remind me what we're looking for. She's looking for me. Eliza, I'm looking for a mind and work. I'm looking for a mind and work. I'm looking for a mind and work.
Ooh, there's nothing like summer in the city. Someone in a rush next to someone looking pretty. Excuse me, miss, I know it's not funny, but your perfume smells like your daddy's got money. While you slumming in the city in your fancy heels, you searching for an urchin who can give you ideals.
Sir, you disgust me.
Ah, so you disgust me. I'm a trust fund, baby, you can trust me.
I've been reading Common Sense by Thomas Paine. So many say that I'm intense or I'm insane. You want a revolution, I want a revelation. So listen to my declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And when I meet Thomas Jefferson, I'ma compel him to include women in the sequel. Work! Look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now. Look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now. History is happening in Manhattan, and we just happen to be in the greatest city in the world. In the greatest city in the world. 'Cause I'm the crown, it's been by Thomas Paine. So let's say that I'm not headed there, I'm saying, we want a revolution, a revelation. Listen to my declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now. History is happening in Manhattan, and we just happen to be in the greatest city in the world. In the greatest city in the world. Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy, the Schuyler sisters. We're looking for a mind at work. Hey, in the greatest city, in the greatest city in the world.
On September 9th, 1957, President Eisenhower signed the Civil Rights Act of 1957 into law, the first major civil rights legislation since Reconstruction. The 1960s saw its own victories on certain fronts, the March on Washington and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Today we stand on the shoulders of our predecessors to continue the fight for freedom, liberation, and justice. In this segment, we take a look at both the civil rights movement and the Black Lives Matter movement, from the people that have not read about it, but have lived it.
History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again.
Leadership must heed the call of conscience, redemption, expansion, healing, and unity, for they are the key to achieving our mission. Time is neutral and does not change things. With courage and initiative, leaders change things.
I'm Raymond Dothert. I live in Millstone Township, New Jersey. I've lived in Monmouth County for about 45 years. And at the present time, I'm completely retired from everything. I don't have any known rank, but in my employment, I have been known as captain, a chief pilot, as well as a lieutenant colonel. So those are basically the ranks that I've held in my military and civilian occupations.
My name is Tiara Brown. I am a 2013 graduate of Long Branch High School. I am an accountant, owner of Brown Financial Imperial, and I am also an entrepreneur, owner of Earth is Ghetto, and owner and co-chair of Juneteenth Coalition. Okay,
I grew up in Alabama, rural Alabama, Choctaw County, near the little town of Lisman, Alabama. I grew up in a time of the where segregation was the law of the South. Schools were separate and quite unequal. In 1948, my father was able to buy a little 150-acre farm about 2 miles from the only black high school in Choctaw County. Choctaw County Training School, of course, had 1 through the 12th grade. All over the South during that time, you would find black schools called training schools. These were schools set up by Booker T. Washington under that name. So that was where I went to school. Of course, I own the farm today myself, still have it. And you could go 1 through 12. So my whole life was associated around my family life on the farm there, Choctaw County Training School, and First Baptist Church. So I had very little interaction with whites in Alabama, other than maybe when you had to go to the store for shopping or something like that. And I never thought of just judging a person as being a bad person. They had to first show me that they meant evil before I thought evil of them. So that's kind of the way I grew up, and I was kind of raised in that environment. Of course, when I went to college at Tuskegee University, or Tuskegee Institute at that time, then that became the 4th part of my life that I centered my whole life around. So my whole thing was more or less from a segregated situation, and it was in the back of my mind, how am I going to compete with my white counterparts once I enter the world? So I knew during my senior year and between my junior and senior year and college, I had to go to a ROTC summer camp, and that's where I would be competing against cadets from about, I don't know, 7 or 8 of the major white universities. There was a few guys there from about 5 from Tuskegee and about 5 from Tennessee State. So this was my first opportunity to go one-on-one against my white counterparts. And having grown up in the situation that I grew up in, and my ego was pretty well put together, so I made sure that they were going to get a piece of me. As a result, I finished first in my flight and was probably considered to be second in the whole camp. So that's kind of but there were other things happening during that whole time. I just told you about my life, but this was in the background of Emmett Till being lynched in Mississippi, and he was only about 5 months older than I was. He was lynched at 14. He just turned 14. I would turn 14 that December. That kind of bothered me, and there were other stuff going on at that time. There were the bus boycotts in Montgomery, which had been there earlier. And I can remember one time, my father and I guess I was about 14 or 15, would end up in Montgomery, and he happened to drive down the street, and I saw buses stacked on top of buses, about 3 buses high. And it was fascinating, and I realized that was that bus company, that boycott had completely put the bus company out of business, almost bankrupt, and also almost bankrupted Murchison in Montgomery. So I thought, wow, that's pretty powerful. And then even after I got out of college, that's when in Mississippi, that's when the 3 civil rights workers who were trying to register voters in Mississippi was lynched and buried in a dam. So you had all those kind of things happening, but you kind of have to keep pressing on and be as careful as you can. Being a farm boy, you know, I'm around rattlesnakes all the time, so I avoided getting bit by them, so I could also apply that to my inner reaction in that society.
The civil rights era and the Black Lives Matter movement compare in a way where they both bring awareness to social injustice and bring awareness to the oppression of the Black community. And they typically come from the same wound. When we think of the civil rights era and we think of the Black Lives Matter movement, this is lingering energy from the slavery days. And we are seeing how this energy is evolving and lingering over time.
One thing that I think opened a lot of people's eyes is when they saw this cop put his knee on Floyd's neck for over 8 minutes and kill him right there in sight for something completely minor. So that's what Black Lives is about, and you've heard the other side try to hijack it and make it mean something else.
The civil rights era sparked the Black Lives Matter movement. What we are seeing is how fighting for social justice looks in a desegregated era and a segregated era. And both movements had enough. Both movements said, we want freedom for all, we want justice for all, and we want equality for all. I was inspired to be a part of that protest because I wanted my community to know that I was here. I'm present, I am with you guys, and I'm in fighting. This is our fight. And I've been thankful enough in my life to be blessed and full of opportunity. However, I cannot experience true freedom until there's freedom for all. And for me, that's what my mark on that walk was.
I think I was just somebody who took advantage of opportunities that was there, and I worked at trying to achieve what I achieved. I don't really consider myself having any kind of a legacy. I guess if you ask me, I would think that running a 2:51:10 marathon at 42 years old, my first attempt at a marathon, knowing that only 10% of the people in the world ever run them under 3 hours, and the time I turned in, about half of the people who ran under 3 hours were behind me, so I was probably in the top 6% of the people who've ever run a marathon in the world. That and being married to the same woman for 46 years, I think is an accomplishment. But I've always, in some way, gravitated to leadership positions while I was with the airlines. I was chief pilot of the U.S. Airways shuttle, and I was also squadron commander of the 119th Fighter Interceptors for the New Jersey Air National Guard, as well as state director of operation of the Air National Guard. And then I worked as a FAA safety inspector after I retired from the airlines. I had retired 60 years old. I've been in a position where I've been lucky enough to be in a position to do certain things. When Nelson Mandela got out of prison in 1990 and came to the United States, I happened to be with the Trump shuttle, and he bid it to get the charter and asked me to fly captain on it, and I flew Nelson Mandela around the country for 8 days. That was one of the most enjoyable things I ever did on a personal level. But as far as accomplishments, I still don't feel that I have anything that's worth really putting up on a bulletin board.
I would say to my younger self and to the younger generations that your voice matters. No matter what climate or environment you're in, as long as you are respectful and you are passionate for what you believe in, someone will hear your message. Your job is to deliver that message. Whoever receives it is not on you. But make sure you deliver passion, make sure you deliver love, and make sure you're a decent human being. Because right now, this world needs love, and being a decent human being is your duty to this world. We're not in this world to serve ourselves. We're here to serve all. So make sure you're doing your human decency and your human due diligence to love your neighbors and to love your peers and to love your community. And most importantly, love yourself, because you will make the world a better place.
Try to do the best you can. You might not be the smartest student in the class, but if you ever let any other student outwork you, then it's on you, not them. Because there are some students that just maybe a little more gifted than you are. Maybe they get A's without even trying. But if you work hard and get your C, be proud of that. And if you keep working harder, that can turn to a B. What I'm saying is you'll be amazed at how smart you become the harder you work.
The 1960s also saw a cultural movement that not only empowered African Americans, but also fought to counteract the racist notion of American culture that blacks were less attractive or desirable than those of whites. The Black is Beautiful movement sparked acceptance and, more importantly, an integration of African American culture into the mainstream American culture. Hair and fashion became yet another avenue for African Americans to creatively express themselves. Our next piece is a collection of poetry, which seeks to do the same. I present to you our very own Long Branch High School Poetry Club.
Mystery of iniquity, blinded by the simplicity, only taught that we were slaves, never talk about the days when we ruled everything that we owned, and our art was carved in stone. There's more to our history than our freedom being sold. Your melanin is worth more than diamonds glittering gold. Change your perception, look away from the deception that put us in a psychologically locked state of mind. Understand that you are capable of succeeding like the next man, blind, what they want us to be, but we will ascend past the perception of the other man. Everything is everything. Life is what you make it. You are kind, not deceitful or filled with malice intention. We're not built to work a 9 to 5 for some pension. Attention, stand tall and understand the truth. Live to learn so you can teach the youth. It's not about being accepted into the public's eye. Live your truth. Don't live in a lie. We share the blood of true kings and queens. Regardless of what we are told, we created the air that we breathe. We carried the nation on our backs, erased our history, and brainwashed us all from knowing that. But the time has come for our people to seek change. Be grateful of the story that your scars have to tell. Time to exceed past the miniature range. Time to realize that we are more than how we are perceived. Time to branch off and build so we can finally feel a sense of relief. Love is the highest vibration. Time to tune to a new radio station and give the love that we just barely received to our own kinfolk and family members so we can teach the love to our seed.
To move is to progress, as to decay is to rot, as we live to learn, but ignore to be foolish. To fix is to build, but to procrastinate is to cause devastation. For every plus there's a minus, for every act there's a truth. My hope to all is to seek the positive rather than its competitive, because the negative is waiting for an excuse, a reason to stay relevant. We can't help what the past holds, but we can create our new. These parasites in the soul disappear as I think beyond my limitations, as I guide my own emotion, and I keep my pain. My sadness that carried me for thousands of years continues to stay in thought, the anger of oppression, but I don't let it create my new. In the light of day, no devil could extinguish this fire. No man can stop our pain.
Do we still have that dream? A dream to unsee the scene? A dream to end racism once and for all and wipe our slate clean? A dream that my child and your child will not be seen as black or white, but the gray that lies in between? I'm tired. I'm tired of seeing my fellow African Americans being the first suspect at a crime scene, or laying on the ground saying, I can't breathe. Now he's not here to see his daughter become a teen. Stay strong and persevere, my melanin kings and queens, because at the end of the day, we will be the winning team.
Thank you for joining us in our celebration for Black History Month. We have showcased what Black excellence means to us here at Long Branch High School. What does it mean to you?